Our driver is Callum, the girl part on this tour. The two of us, welcome to Edinburgh, beautiful capital of Scotland. You can't hear me. I'm talking. You can't hear me. Can you hear me upstairs?
Yes.
Oh, well, upstairs is working, Callum. Can you twiddle something downstairs? Want to sing my favourite song? No? Okay. I did that earlier. I could do 10 green bottles for the capital of Scotland. Now I'm quite sure that many of you will have travelled with us already, in which case, welcome back. Nice to have you with us again. But if this is your first time with us, quick initiation, a reminder for everyone else. Now, 3 things we'd ask all passengers. Ask please not to stand while they're on tour. Please no standing for your safety, the safety of our passengers and our pedestrians down below. Please no standing. Please no smoking on our tour buses for the comfort of our passengers. And we do particularly ask you please not use your mobile phones for calls while we're on tour. Please do respect this. Complete tour takes just under the hour, depending of course on the traffic. Last bus of the day leaves from the Waverley Bridge at 5:45. 5:45 this afternoon, 5:45. And that's the Waverley Bridge where we just started from. Till then running at least every 20 minutes, last bus 5:45. Official stops are marked on your brochure map, an orange dot. You see Edinburgh Tour on the bus stops. And please, you must use the official stops. But drivers are not allowed to stop in between stops. Dangerous, it's illegal. If you're at the official stop, give the driver a wave. They like being waved to, but also lets them know that you are passengers. Otherwise the bus will continue without stopping. Likewise, and off the next official stop, just give the driver a guide plenty of warning. These brochures are very useful on the green section. Just before you flip them open, on the green section, details lots of places where you get a discount if you show your tour ticket. As we go round the tour, I'll try and point out some of these places to you. I'll also try and point out places that are free, that don't cost anything. Also quite useful to know. Well, nowadays, below on your left-hand side is West Princessy Gardens, put into place the end of the 18th century. High in the sky, up to your left, is of course the castle. And the castle where Edinburgh first started. In fact, excavations over recent years and the rock itself go back to the year 800. That's BC, we're told, and that's from carbon dating that we know that. The castle a bit high for defensive reasons. Good look at that. Of course, always nervous of invasion English from the south. Just underneath the castle rock was the river Tumble. We blocked it off, we dammed it. So where the gardens sit nowadays, below on your left-hand side, in the 15th and the 18th centuries, an area of water was called the Nor Loch. Loch, Scottish word for lake, and Nor meaning northern lake. It was in fact the northern defence system for the castle. Where all the rubbish went. Now looking up the castle, people standing up there. Just behind where they're standing is one of the oldest buildings in Edinburgh. It dates back to the 12th century. It's St Margaret's Chapel. And St Margaret was Queen Margaret, wife of Malcolm Canmore. And if you know your Shakespeare, Malcolm Canmore was the son of Duncan I. And here's a name I think you might recognise, because it was Duncan I who was killed by Macbeth. Now whilst we say Shakespeare was quite good at writing these plays, his attempt at Scottish history was very poor. He got it wrong. Because Duncan was a very young man, only about 27 years old. Macbeth, not very much older. Macbeth killed Duncan in battle, not as the play says at all. After that, Macbeth ruled Scotland for 17 years, during which time Macbeth was a very good king here in Scotland. Well, Macbeth in turn was also killed in battle. He was killed by Malcolm Canmore. And the year following Macbeth's death, Malcolm himself became king. So, if when you came to us earlier, you considered yourself a Shakespearean scholar, I just re-educated you. Do you know any Americans or Canadians with us at the moment? We do? Right, listen up. The next opening to your right, where you see the old two shop, up that opening to your right, number 14, was the birthplace to Alexander Graham Bell, inventor of the telephone. Now you may know that he emigrated to America, and I believe in Canada he made his invention. Well, let me just remind you, there's one here in Scotland, so it's our invention. Okay? Just what you ought to know. Shall I say it again? Did you get it the first time? Good. Down through the trees you left the parish church of St Cuthbert's. St Cuthbert's Presbyterian Church. It's been an ecclesiastical site down there since at least the 12th century, if not before. Some stones down there so old, no longer legible. Time and weather's taken care of that. And the benefit of mathematicians amongst you, you might like to know that John Napier is buried in St Cuthbert's graveyard. John Napier invented logarithms. You may remember them from your maths class at school. If you do, either one of two things. Are you very clever, or you're showing your age? I'm showing my age. Nowadays, I believe at secondary school in Scotland anyway, you don't do logs unless you specialise in maths. But I didn't specialise, I got them compulsory in second year. Or was it third year? I can't remember now. Because the calculator and the computer is completely taken over. We weren't allowed a calculator in our exams when I was at school. Just had to use your fingers. Next you left, this is St John's Episcopalian Church. St Cuthbert's below is Presbyterian, St John's is Episcopalian. The difference, very very simply, slightly more English, more Anglican style of service. While St John's is a Scottish Episcopalian church. The very tall stained glass windows, when lit on the inside of an evening, on the outside, these windows are magnificent. Told the finest example of Victorian stained glass in Europe. Very bright, vibrant colours, golds, blues, greens, reds. Main windows depict 12 apostles, 12 disciples. The entrance to the church is ahead of us, round the corner on your left. Usually opening stage at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What a sight, have a look for yourselves. These trees beside us on your left are called rowan trees, R-O-W-A-N, rowan trees. Very superstitious trees, and that's not the trees, but people of them said a word of witches. It's also said that you've got lots of red berries on come the autumn months, sun and hard winter to come. Watch those trees. I'm on the bus and you're right, looking at us. Look back at them. Come away. Look at them, look at them. Now they know I'm talking about them. Ahead of us to your left, this lovely building, the Calvin Hotel. Began life in 1903 as the Railway Station Hotel. Calvin Railway Company, the Prince Railway Station no longer exists, all absorbed beginning of the last century. It's 5 stars, very grand indeed. Of course, many famous people have stayed there, including the late and very famous American actor Roy Rogers. You had a trigger, his horse, he came to. He did. And they've got a photograph inside to prove it, taking a grand staircase. Down below on your left, over the grave at St Cuthbert's, in the corner of the graveyard, just come up on your left, little light coloured turret building. Looks quite modern, but recently renovated, dates back to 1827. It's got a watchtower. And you might wonder, why have we got a watchtower overlooking a graveyard? Well, I'll explain. Edinburgh is famous for its School of Medicine, particularly that of anatomy. And the only way they could body to practice on was a criminal was hanged. Yes, the bodies of criminals were automatically given up to medical school for dissection, but not enough criminals. Therefore, not enough bodies. Some people discovered that if they went into a graveyard late at night, after a burial had taken place early in the day, they dug the grave up, took the bodies up to Dr. Knox, the medical school. £10 East Medic, no questions asked. A lot of money at the beginning of the 19th century, so rather than have your loved ones dug up, you would pay for someone to stay in the watchtower for a sufficient time. Now of course, to say a sufficient time, the bodies had to be fresh. had to be less than 14 days old, otherwise were no use. These people were indeed grave robbers. It was not right to call themselves, no. Call themselves resurrectionists. It's true. Now, to your left, big brown building, that's the Usher Hall. In London, another Albert Hall is much, much larger. And you see, the things come in small packages. Wonderful acoustics, wonderful concerts around there. A theatre on either side, a traverse theatre on one side, but a Lyceum theatre on the other. A well-served theatres here in Edinburgh. Playhouse theatre, the King's Theatre, the Festival Theatre. All the big shows have been in London, but here in Edinburgh too. The operas, the musicals, the ballet. Ballet nights at times, it really is the place to be. Let me just take some more passengers. Well, for everyone just join us, we're running at least every 20 minutes. Last bus of the day, 1 to 6 from the Waverley Bridge. So you might get a slight idea of where those white windows painted, like tenement house would have been like, or tenement flats, I should say. Flats is the more sort of British expression nowadays. We call them flats. They were tenement buildings. With the North by Northern Fence sits on the north side of the castle. The rest of the city is surrounded by a wall for our safety, for our defence. The wall had 6 entrance gates. I'm going to point one up too in a moment. The area is called the West Port. Port or Port, taken from the French main door of Great Hill. The West Port was the west entrance of the old city. The gate no longer exists, and nothing to see. The area is still called the West Port, if you're looking for direction. Point to turn the bus right beyond the next to the traffic light, that's the West Port. But if you go through the West Port, it takes you down to an area called the Glass Market. There's a market down there, right up to 1911, the beginning of the last century. And that's where the cattle, the sheep, the livestock are bought and sold. A very busy area there, so today it's a pubs and eating places all along one side. A very reasonable bar lunch or pub meal down there, and of course a very trendy place for young ones and a very short walk heading towards the castle. So over visit the castle, the Scotch was Heritage Centre, and Obscura or the Weaving Company, you won't be very far to walk. To get there, over a bridge. As you get to know Edinburgh, you realise the centre of the city connected by a series of bridges. Well, this is the King's Bridge we're on now. Opened in 1932. Look down to your left and your right. Looking over King's Stables Road. At one time an area where the horse would have been stabled for the castle. Also an area where many jousting tournaments, combat and horseback. This road of course didn't exist until the beginning of the 19th century. The side of the rock faces blasted through to make another access point to the castle, especially for you. Like on your left looks like scaffold, it is and it isn't. That was the seating for Edinburgh Military Base, the seating for Edinburgh Military. Coming down levels back one next June, readiness for the 2008. People come from all over the world to take part. To be there, the atmosphere is not to be compared. You can buy a video and watch television, be there, atmosphere is something else. At the top of this hill, the spiral church building, the longer church. It was St John's Hampton of Kirk, Kirkville Scots Reformed Church. The service is here held in Gaelic. The Gaelic speaking to views at Edinburgh was all over the line. Taken over in 1998, the Edinburgh International Festival. Nowadays they call it the Hub, HUB. Much easier to say of course, and there are fests in Edinburgh all year round. As well as the big Edinburgh International Fest, Science Fest, Book Fest, Jazz Fest, Film Fest, Children's Fest, Comedy Fest, Art Fest, there's just a few. Edinburgh is an all-year-round destination. We're heading now up on Thirlwall Mile. It's called Thirlwall Mile, the council at one end, the Palace of Holyrood House at the other. An old Scots mile, it's a mile and 200 yards. We like to think we get a bit extra here, just need to walk a little bit further. Don't worry, everything else is in British measurements. Just a bit late to the castle and the palace Two corridors. Now ahead of us on the left, on the Oldfields in the Royal Mile. Anyone go to the castle, this is your stop. Castle, Scotch Whisky Heritage Centre, County School, Auto Leading Company. I would recommend if you go to the castle today, do it now. You spent at least an hour and a half up there, possibly longer. Passengers coming down Cannon. Back here, 20 minutes, last bus of the day. Wanted to see you later. One of the oldest Congo Landstones land is from the National Trust for Scotland. In fact, show your 2 ticket for the day, and they'll give you a discount of the entrance price. And you'll see how it lived in the 16th and 17th centuries. Now, tip of its style, this side is 17th century. The windows are fixed. They don't move. Instead, they've got wooden shutters underneath. Can you see? Because when the building first went up, plumbing hadn't been invented. So, at 10 o'clock at night, the wooden shutters would open. And you'd hear the shout of Gallo, taken from the French meaning watch out for the water. Just told you, plumbing hadn't been invented. So simply say water in its various forms. Not very nice at all. In fact, it was the animals that were street cleaners of the day. The animals were sent out into the street to clean the mess, the edible debris. Enjoy a meal later. As always, heading upstairs, you get the best view. Look ahead to your right, the skyline. See the crown spire of St Giles Cathedral. Some say based on the Scottish crown. Others say not. Well, you decide for yourselves. The Scottish crown jewels, the oldest in Europe, are in the safekeeping of the nation. On display in the council itself, where you may already have been, perhaps are still to visit. You can decide for yourself. St Giles, of course, the High Kirk of the Church of Scotland. Parts of the building date back to the 12th century. It runs hand in hand the history of Edinburgh, the history of Scotland in fact. And during weekdays, with guides inside, delighted to answer any question we have about the church, and please do speak to them. Well, very briefly, we're leaving the Royal Mile and out onto George IV Bridge, and it's a bridge. Privilege as we through. It'll open down to your right, Victoria Street, a shortcut down to the Grass Market. Directly on your right, the Central Library, then gifted by Andrew Carnegie. On your left hand side, the National Library of Scotland. Some wonderful exhibitions held there from time to time. Look down to your left and your right. Look down now. Told you so, it was a bridge. Below what we call the Cowgate. The Cowgate was 6 gates into the old city. The Cowgate was a way the road that animals and livestock were taken into the Grass Market to be bought and sold. Grass Market is underneath us to your right. Now we turn to our left into Chamber Street. Straight into large museums. The first one on your right, very modern building, the New Museum of Scotland. Opened on the 3rd of November 1998, Her Majesty the Queen. Then it happened, the 3rd of November is St Andrew's Day. St Andrew, the patron saint of Scotland. That museum is dedicated to the history of Scotland itself. Next to your right, the dark building is the Royal Museum. The Royal Museum has absolutely everything you think of, from diamonds to dinosaurs, costume for the ages, space bats, all there. Easily spend half a day and longer still to go back. Entrance is free, no charge, open every day, 10 to 5. Now we're running parallel to the Royal Mile. Royal Mile, next Main Street to your left. Castle at one end, look high on top of an extinct volcano. Quite dead nowadays, so don't worry. When the Ice Ages came, it pushed the earth and lava eastwards. In that direction the bus is travelling at the moment. Couldn't move volcanic plug where the castle now sits, so it pushed the earth and lava on either side. Gouged out a valley on either side. Really, the Royal Mile is a sort of platform. The technical name for this is a crag and tail effect. The Royal Mile, the tail itself of that volcano. The buildings on either side, 3, 4, maybe 5 stories high. As many as 11 or 12 stories high on the other side. You understand that more to go further round the tour. Look up to your right. The arched window on the second floor is not a window, it's painted on. Can you see? Underneath, that's not a window either. They're both painted on. They're known as Pitt's portraits. Pitt after William Pitt, the Prime Minister, not just Scotland but of Great Britain too. That's his idea. If he could afford lots of windows, glass are very expensive, then surely he could afford the government some more tax. It was of course a temporary window tax. Hence the expression, daylight robbery. That's where it comes from. Rather than pay the tax, people simply brick the windows up, paint them on again, not deface the properties. That was a temporary tax. He was responsible for several so-called temporary taxes. I say so-called, I'm sure these two you will recognise are still with us. Income tax and the whisky tax. And they, my friends, got shown are here to stay. Where do these wee things come from? Well, it's the Pitts. Pitts after William Pitt. It's not an American expression at all. Pretty certain at Christmas time they love mincemeat pies. It's not mince, it's not meat. Well, pat a cake, baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. Pat it and print it in the market with P. You make your pie, you paste your cake at home, put your dish on top, and send it to the bakers. Meat didn't keep very well in the old days. They had no fridges, they had no freezers. When they discovered if you put fruit on top, it acts as a sort of preservative. Well, the fruit tasted rather nice. They chucked the meat out. There's your mincemeat pie. Everything comes from somewhere. We'll turn left onto another bridge. This is the South Bridge. South Bridge and George IV Bridge span the Severn Valley, gout out with ice ages. You come to Edinburgh on your left of the law, and there's George IV's Bridge at Cowgate underneath us. Above the rooftops to your left, it's a spiral other old church. Well, again, no longer a church. Nowadays, Old Tank Cremation Centre. This area is steeped in many centuries of history. It was called the Tron Kirk. Tron, in fact, means weighing beam. The weight of the air at one time was for salt. Salt was a very precious commodity. And to make sure the correct quantity was given, they weighed in the wooden beam itself. But if you didn't give the correct quantity, you'd be punished. You'd be pinned by earlobe, the wooden beam, and left overnight. The next morning, it would send up a hole in your ear. Otherwise, you might lose your whole ear if the soul wouldn't like when he cut you down. Then, those who can't see me, perhaps you'll take up both my ears pierced. I promise it's pure vanity and no other reason. Lady in blue, what's your excuse? Let's see your tongue, your belly button. She's not answering me, she's got secrets. As for us to know and them to wonder, we'll keep it that way, shall we? You wish to leave us at the next stop. The next stop is for my favourite museum. Yours too when you visit. The number 42, the High Street, is a museum of childhood. It's got all the toys that you've played with, your parents, your grandparents, perhaps even your great-great-great-grandparents. If you don't recognise anything, then surely you were never a child. Does anyone stop for a museum of childhood? If you do, please give me a wave. Anybody? No? I think we're all saying tight, Karen. Whatever age you are, with no doors, I promise you're going to avert. Guaranteed. Entrance is free. No charge. Which window? That's a museum of childhood. Now, quite a few gentlemen on the tour bus at the moment. I don't know your nationalities, but if you're brought up in Britain, think very loosely, you may remember the Eagle comic. Down there on the comics. Well, this was at one time the boundary line of Edinburgh. Edinburgh went no further. Built their houses up the way, top of each other, rather than beyond the safety of the city wall. This wasn't considered to be the end of the world. Edinburgh stopped here. I've looked at the first flower basket on the plant on your right. Underneath the wall is a picture of a door. Can you see? The door opens at the edge of the road. Watch pedestrians. I do. Look at the alleyway. Look in the window. They never see the picture. Netherwell Gate, found and lost below the 1700s, 1764. And of course there was a wall around the city. Even today we still have remnants of the flog wall, built at the Battle of Flog of 1513. We belong to your right. Right, if you could all see the tall right behind, remnants of the flog wall. With that we just crossed the boundary line. Which means where we are now, this was at one time the countryside. It's called the Cannon Gate. Gate, old Scots word for walk. This is where the canons or monks would have walked up and down from Holyrood Abbey to St Giles Cathedral. Outside of the Edinburgh it was a separate borough, and such had its own town council. Indeed,